Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new, my name's Liz, and for today's video, come experiment with some different painting type techniques, some abstract art, if you will. I wanted to try something different. This was the very first time that I tried these techniques. I put it on film, so you guys are gonna see what I made. These were so much fun, and I definitely want to try to do these again using some different materials, try to do it the correct way. But if you want to see how I experimented with some new art type items, then let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So over the past couple weeks, as I've been scrolling through Instagram and seeing a whole bunch of reels and getting lost in the world of reels, I have come across some really fun art projects, some really fun art techniques that I just think look so beautiful, and I knew that I wanted to try them out for myself and see if I could figure out how to do them. I'm going to link all of these Instagram accounts down below in my description box because they are so inspiring. All their pieces were super gorgeous and beautiful, so I'm going to try my hardest to recreate them for the very first time today. Obviously, I'm not going to do the best job. They're not going to look anything like this, but it is my little experiment, trying it out. Since filming this video, I've gone and purchased some other products that I think will help with these projects a lot better. So all a learning process and kind of, learning as I go, and I definitely want to try these out again. So let's jump into the first DIY. I'm going to take one of these large canvases. I got this from Michael's in a big pack, and I want to say this is probably a 12 by 12 possibly. So I'm going to take two of those. I'm going to take some spackle that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take some white paint, just some white acrylic paint, and I'm going to mix that up. Now, I could have just left this the spackle color, but it was more kind of a gray tone, and I wanted it more white, so that's why I mixed in the white paint with it. And then I'm going to take some blue painter's tape, and I'm just going to paint all the edges of my canvas because I do want a very nice, straight, clean line around all the sides instead of the spackle getting everywhere. So I'm just going to put tape over all of the sides. Now, I grabbed these little spatula things from the Dollar Tree. You can get a pack of them from there. You can go buy better quality ones if you wish, but this is just what I had on hand at the time. I'm just going to scoop that spackle out, and I'm going to spread it all over my canvas. And I just tried to get it as even as I possibly could without it being, too thick. You will see me go through and kind of scrape some off it sometimes, but I'm just going to go through and spread that spackle around the entire canvas. I'm not making it completely perfect or smooth. I'm just getting it over the entire thing. And then to do this, I tried several different things. So I'm trying to make those kind of arches. First, I tried a comb from the Dollar Tree. Didn't work. It was just scraping all the spackle off. So I tossed that idea out the window, re-smoothed my spackle over my canvas, and then I chose a wide tooth comb from the Dollar Tree. That one didn't work either. So I quickly scratched that idea as well, smoothed my spackle back over my canvas, and then I had this wood grain tool that came from Dixie Belle, and I decided to use this smaller kind of triangular piece that it came with, and I just practiced with it several times. I would go over it, smooth the spackle back out, go over it again, just kind of practicing, seeing how to do this technique as best as I could. There is a much better tool that you can buy to do this. I just needed to go to the store and buy it. I believe you can get it at Home Depot. I'll throw a picture of it up on the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But that is the tool that you should be using. I should have just gone out and bought it, but I didn't. I was in the middle of moving. I didn't want to go out to the store right away, so I just used what I had on hand. This is what I had, and I do think it ended up turning out pretty well considering the tool that I was using and considering it was my very first time doing it. So I, again, just practice and practice. Smooth your spackle back out if you don't like it. try it again, and that's what I ended up doing. I did this for 2 canvases, and I thought it ended up turning out really well. And I just kind of played around with it, did a bunch of different like half circles and little rainbow shapes kind of a deal. And I just did that all over for 2 of the canvases. Now, I did let these completely dry for an entire day, and then I went in with my Dixie Belle Rusty Nail chalk paint, and I painted 2 of the arches, 1 on each canvas. And this is what they ended up looking like all finished. I think that these turned out super pretty. And again, this was just my very first try. I am definitely going to try this again with the correct tool this time and see how it turns out. I think that these would be super pretty on a mantle paired together. And I love the more kind of modern vibe that it gives. So I'm definitely going to be practicing some more. Let me know if you guys have ever tried this technique or tried making one of these pieces before. So for this project, I got this palette knife set from Michaels, but again, if you don't want to go to Michaels and don't want to spend a little bit of extra money, you can get smaller little palette knives from the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree just didn't have the shape that I was looking for. And then at Michaels, I also grabbed these medium acrylic paints that were really pretty. I wanted an acrylic paint that was a heavier acrylic. I didn't do the heaviest acrylic that I possibly could because those were a ton more money. And since I was just trying it out for the first time, I decided to go with the medium acrylic. I believe each of these bottles were about $5. And I am going to go ahead and grab some more spackle, and I'm going to mix some of my paint with that spackle. So I'm going to take this kind of peachy color that I thought was really pretty, and I'm just going to mix and mix and mix that all together. Now, I've gone through and watched a whole bunch of reels on Instagram of people making these, and I see people using spackle as their mixing medium. I see other people using modeling paste as their mixing medium, which I did buy and I do want to try out and see if I like it a little bit better than using the spackle. I want something that's a little bit smoother. And while the spackle is smooth, it doesn't it breaks a little bit more easier, or it breaks up. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but hopefully it does. I'm just going to take this palette knife that's kind of more in the triangular shape. I'm going to get the spackle on the back of that palette knife, and I'm going to push it onto the canvas, kind of making these leaves. Obviously, again, this was my very first time trying this type of technique out, and I think with more practice, I can get a whole lot better at it. But for my very first try, I feel like this turned out pretty good, you know. Doing it for the very first time, had no idea what I was doing, just kind of playing around with it, seeing what I liked, seeing, you know, the best techniques to do it. So there's definitely going to be more practice in the future, but again, I'm just going through kind of making little flowers with it, and messing around really is all it is. It's just playing around, figuring out what I like, what I don't like, trying out different palette knives, seeing which ones I like the shape of. So again, I'm just going to take some spackle with some white paint mixed in there, using kind of more of a rounded edged palette knife, going and making more little flower shapes, more little leaf shapes. And I just do this over and over and over again. I take some yellow and mix that in with some spackle, put that on the canvas, and towards the end, I just started putting little spots everywhere, trying to kind of fill up some of the gaps. So I get just like an, you know, abstract-y type art. And I'm excited to try this technique out again because I have seen some really beautiful pieces that I am obsessed with, and I want to try to recreate for myself because I think one of these big pieces all put together would be so pretty hung up over a bed or in a living room or, somewhere. But I just thought this was really fun. I let this completely dry. It has survived an entire move and nothing has cracked off or broken. And I just think that this is really, really pretty. For this DIY, I grabbed one of these long glass vases from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to do the good old paint and baking soda mixture. I just used some white Waverly chalk paint and an equal part of some baking soda, and I'm just going to mix and mix and mix until you have a thick paint consistency. And then I'm just going to give that one good coat all over the entire vase and let that completely dry before moving on to the next step. Once that is all the way dry, I'm going to take several different paint colors. This kind of reddish, purplyish color was a combination of a ton of different paint. So I couldn't tell you how I got to this point, but that's the color I got. And then I chose 3 other colors. I didn't end up using that pink in the middle, but I did end up using more of a rusty red as well. Now I am going to take a toothbrush. I just grabbed a toothbrush from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to dip my paint in it. And at first I started off really light, trying to not do too much at a time, trying to build my way up to it. And I'm just going to dab this toothbrush all over the vase. I did different techniques, dabbing it just straight on and then dabbing it more towards the top to get a bigger blob of paint. You can see what I'm doing. So I just try to do a whole bunch of different kind of looks, a more, thicker blob, and then a bunch of those bristle prints. And then I'm going to take my mint color. It's kind of hard to see on camera of it going on the bottle, but you'll be able to see the color in the pictures. And I just do the same thing, just dabbing it all over the entire base, getting those bristle marks on there, and then also getting those bigger blobs of paint from the top of the toothbrush. And then I went in with this antebellum blue that I thought was really pretty and would go well. And again, you're just going to do the same thing. So this is just layering paints on top of each other, all sorts of different colors. It kind of just depends on what kind of color scheme that you're going for. I ended up wanting kind of more of a farmhouse look to this, which is why I traded out for the antebellum blue and then a rusty red at the end. And just layer and layer and layer until you like it, until it ends up, the way that you want it to look. But I just did this over again. So I used 4 different colors of paint. And I just think that this turned out really well. You can go back over it at the end with some white paint to kind of tone down anything that you want toned down. If you don't want as much color on there and you want a little bit more white, you can go back over it with white at the end. But that's all you got to do for this DIY. I think this turned out really, really pretty. I'm just loving this kind of abstract art type look to my projects lately. I think it's really fun and I'm really excited to decorate this in my brand new home. And that's it for today's video. Let me know what your favorite project was in the comments down below. I hope that you guys liked this. Something a little bit different and fun. And like I said, I really want to try these out several more times. So if you want to see more of these types of DIYs, let me know in the comments so that I know that you guys like them and so that I can keep bringing you that kind of content. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.